The town called it punishment. The father called it justice. And the girl, she was told it was the end of her story. But up in those mountains, far beyond the dusty roads of Whetstone, fate had a different plan. This is not just the tale of a trade made in anger. It is the tale of survival, truth, and the question that haunted every whisper in the valley: who was truly judged that day? The spring sun hammered down on the small cattle town of Whetstone, beating the streets into heat and dust. Horses flicked their tails at flies. The general store bell clanged, but over it all one voice cut sharp through the air: Jade Boone's voice. Jade was a big man, not in kindness or wisdom, but in anger. His hand clamped around the arm of his daughter Delilah, dragging her across the street as though she were nothing but baggage. The girl stumbled, trying to keep up, her cheeks burning, her plain brown dress wrinkled and dusty from his rough grip. She was 16, heavyset, awkward, and too often the target of his fury. "Time up," Jade thundered, hauling her onto the wooden steps of the general store porch. "I've had enough of this dead weight." A crowd began to form, drawn by the sound of his voice, by the spectacle of a father selling his child. Boots shuffled in the dirt, whispers rose, but no one dared step forward. Jade shoved her in front of them all. "Hear me now," he bellowed, his eyes sweeping across the gathering faces. "I'm offering up this girl, my own flesh and blood, in exchange for a rifle and 3 sacks of flour. She's strong enough for labor if you can break her stubbornness. Too soft for ranch life, too lazy for housework. Let her learn real suffering elsewhere." Delilah stood frozen, her gaze locked on the wooden boards under her shoes, trying not to cry. The humiliation pressed down heavier than the sun. And then, through the silence, a voice spoke. "I'll make that trade." The words belonged to Gideon Maddox, the reclusive mountain man, a tall figure with a grey-shot beard, broad shoulders under a worn coat, and eyes as cold and unreadable as the stone cliffs he called home. Jade smirked. "Didn't expect you'd be interested, Maddox. You sure about this?" "I said I'll make the trade." Gideon's tone held no hesitation. He gestured to his wagon where supplies sat stacked. "Rifles good, ammunition too, flowers there, take it." The crowd held its breath as the bargain was struck. Jade's grip loosened, shoving Delilah forward. "Done, she's your problem now." And just like that, a life was exchanged, rifle for daughter, flower for flesh. The wagon rolled out of Whetstone that afternoon, carrying Delilah away from everything she had ever known. She clutched a rough wool blanket Gideon handed her, though no warmth reached her shaking bones. Behind her the town faded into dust and distance. Ahead the mountains loomed, towering, cold, and filled with unknown shadows. That night Gideon stopped in a clearing beneath the pines. He built a fire with quiet efficiency, cooked beans over the flames, and without ceremony handed her a tin plate. "Eat if you're hungry," was all he said. Delilah sat apart, her back to a fallen log, blanket wrapped tight around her shoulders. She waited, bracing for cruelty, but none came. Gideon gave her space. He even built a small shelter of pine boughs on the far side of the fire. "For privacy," he explained simply. For the first time since her father's hand left her arm, Delilah felt something unfamiliar. Not kindness, not yet, but safety. Days passed as they traveled deeper into the mountains. The air grew sharper, cleaner. Streams whispered over rocks, and the scent of pine replaced the dust of Whetstone. Finally, after long miles, they reached a cabin pressed against a hillside. A small goat pen stood nearby, chickens scratching in the dirt, and a stream glittered in the sunlight. "This is home," Gideon said, pushing open the cabin door. Inside it was sparse but orderly, a stone fireplace, shelves of tools, a ladder leading to a loft. "The loft's yours, my room's through that door. You're not here to serve me. You'll find your peace in your own way." Delilah blinked, stunned. She had expected chains, servitude, cruelty. Instead, she found space and silence. That night, lying on the straw mattress beneath quilts, she wept, grief and relief mixing in equal measure. For the first time she wondered, had she been cast out to suffer or saved from her father's cruelty? Life in the mountains unfolded like a rhythm of survival. Delilah fed goats in the morning, gathered eggs from the hens, turned the soil of the garden. Her body ached at first, but strength came. She found joy in small things, the bleat of a goat pressing against her hand, the warmth of an egg in her palm, the crisp bite of mountain air. And she found Gideon not cruel but distant. He spoke little, but when he did, it was with a quiet firmness. He showed her how to split kindling with an axe. "Let the weight do the work," he instructed, gidding her grip. He brought her charcoal for her drawings after he noticed her sketches of flowers. Yet one mystery remained. In the loft, tucked under a blanket, she discovered a locked wooden trunk, its surface carved with intricate vines and flowers. She did not pry, but curiosity gnawed at her. Gideon avoided her questions, his face shutting down like a frozen lake whenever the past was mentioned. One stormy evening, as thunder cracked and rain battered the cabin, Gideon surprised her. He took an old Bible from the shelf and began to read aloud, his voice unpracticed, almost trembling. The words stumbled from him as though each verse carried weight. Delilah listened quietly, stitching his worn shirts by the fire. She saw not a hardened mountain man, but someone carrying grief like a shadow. Weeks flowed like water. Delilah grew stronger, freer. She laughed for the first time when a goat barged into the cabin, muddy and bleating, and even Gideon's lips twitched with amusement. Trust began to grow between them, slow and fragile, like the wildflowers pushing through snowmelt. But always that locked trunk lingered, and the question, what past, haunted Gideon Maddox. One warm afternoon, a cry of distress pulled Delilah to the henhouse. There, tangled in old twine, lay a red-tailed hawk, its wing bent unnaturally, its fierce eyes glaring in pain. Delilah's heart clenched. She moved carefully, whispering softly, and freed the bird from its snare. Carrying it to Gideon, she expected indifference. Instead, he examined the creature with practiced hands. "We'll splint it," he said. "It'll fly again." Together they tended the hawk. Day after day they fed it, cleaned its wound, and watched its strength return. And in nursing that bird, Delilah realized something profound. Pain could heal, and broken things could soar again. But peace never lasts forever in the mountains. Word of Gideon's new companion spread back down to Whetstone. Whispers twisted into rumors, that Maddox had bought himself a bride, that the girl was kept against her will, that sins brewed in his hidden cabin. And when armed men finally rode into the clearing, demanding to take Delilah back, both lives were put to the test. Delilah stepped forward, her voice steady. "I was sold by a father who saw me as nothing but weight, but here I found strength. Here I was not broken. You will not take me back." The men looked from her determined face to Gideon's steady stance, and in that moment the truth hung heavier than any rumor. Resolution. Seasons passed. The hawk healed and flew free, a shadow against the bright mountain sky. The garden grew, the goats thrived, and so did Delilah. She was no longer the discarded girl of Whetstone. She was someone new, stronger, braver, alive. As for Gideon, he never opened the trunk for her, but one evening he left the key on the table. Delilah never said what she found inside, but her drawings grew richer afterward, filled with both sorrow and hope. In the valley, the rumors quieted. Some still judged, others whispered, but those who truly watched saw the truth, that suffering had not destroyed Delilah, it had freed her. So I ask you, listening now, was she punished that day, or was she saved? Was Gideon Maddox a buyer or a guardian? And perhaps more importantly, how many of us are judged too soon, cast aside before our story has the chance to unfold? If you still believe in values like respect, courage, and compassion, then you are part of this story too. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that remind us the truth often waits where we least expect it. Because in the end, every broken thing still has the chance to rise.